We want our right to independence, future, and development to be respected. BRICS has put new paradigms on the world agenda. I would take the Johannesburg and Kazan BRICS declarations, and I would take two key issues. First, the need for a new economic agenda with practical solutions for international trade and currency exchange. We need a new international monetary system. We all recognize this new need. It is not just a question of small reforms of the monetary system, of the financial system, which sometimes seems unable to sustain reforms because the colonial countries of the West would like to re-establish their hegemony through the mechanisms of a hegemonic currency, financial system, credit, imposing economic packages, as well as economic conditions. For this reason, Venezuela insists on the need for more decisive steps to strengthen the BRICS new development bank. For the peoples of the South, for their development and access to investment, progress must be made in establishing a new payment system to replace payment systems that are sometimes used as weapons of aggression. Venezuela was excluded from all the world's payment systems as part of aggression, an economic punishment for regime change, as you know very well. We need a basket of currencies that combines the strong currencies of the superpowers with the right of each of our countries to have its own currency. We need to find practical solutions to the problems of developing a new inclusive economy of independent countries that seek social happiness, that seek dignity. Secondly, we need to reform the United Nations system. I said to Secretary General Antonio Guterres, every time a precision missile falls on a residential building in Gaza and kills men, women, and children, every time a missile falls on Beirut or on southern Lebanon, those missiles set fire to the United Nations system and destroy it. Where is the UN International Court of Justice, or was it created only to persecute? Are the countries of the global South? Where is the UN justice system? Only to prepare documents, communiques. Are the lives of Palestinian children worthless? Let us be loud. Let us seek a practical, audacious plan to revitalize the United Nations system, which is in agony in the face of the rise of the Nazi and fascist movements at this painful stage in history. A new world is possible. We believe that a new world is already emerging. BRICS is the epicenter of the birth and historical emergence of this new world. A world with deeply human values and principles. As I told you, Russian President Vladimir Putin, yesterday during our bilateral meeting, Venezuela is part of the BRICS family. I am grateful for the invitation you extended to me. This is the first time that a Venezuelan president is participating in a BRICS summit of this kind, and we are applying the BRICS principles with conviction. Historical conviction. 200 years ago, in a completely different world, the liberator, Venezuelan national hero, Simon Bolivar, with a sword in his hand, liberated countries, continents, and advocated balance in the world. I believe that the time has come, as our commander, former Venezuelan President Hugo Rafael Chavez Frias said, for this world of balance, which is a multipolar, multi-centered world. BRICS can count, Mr. President, presidents, on the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and on all the revolutionary power of our historic project. Thank you very much, President. Dear Mr. President, Venezuela continues Chavez's policy of strengthening the country's sovereignty. It has a good rate of development. Last year, 5.5%. This year, it will be more than 7%. I am sure that in this sense, you are on the right track. The government formed under your leadership after the elections will do a lot for the development of Venezuela and for cooperation with other countries, including within the BRICS. Thank you for your statement.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Dear Mr. Vladimir Putin, presidents and prime ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I hope as a result of the created unison and thought exchange environment, and based on the beautiful title for this summit, BRICS and the Global South, Building a Better World Together, we take a new step towards building a better system and fairer relations based on collective consent. The foundations of unilateral equations and balances arising from unipolarity have become extremely weak and shaky. Many international structures and mechanisms arising from this approach, such as the United Nations Security Council, the International Monetary Fund, human rights institutions, and other examples have lost their effective and constructive efficiency due to politicization and the influence of Western governments. This is why this group, since its inception, has been able to become a successful model of cooperation and convergence between countries in the regional and international arenas, in light of its lofty and popular goals. This summit reflects the fact that building a better world is not possible alone, and that in today's interconnected world, collective will and action are needed, a fundamental change that requires reform of the current system and creating a new balance of power based on justice and consent. In other words, a better world would be a place where there is no sign of sanctions, imposition of will, aggression, war, conquest, and genocide, and where multilateralism prevails instead of unilateralism, majority rule instead of minority rule, equality instead of discrimination, transparency instead of deception, democracy instead of authoritarianism, and dialogue instead of war. Our world has faced numerous incidents over the past year, and many components of peace and security, especially in the West Asia region, have been weakened or threatened. The Zionist regime, disregarding international standards, has violated many of the red lines of governments and has cravenly added another dark page in the history of its widespread crimes, producing a new wave of violence and terror. The fire of war is still raging in the Gaza Strip, Palestine, and the cities of Lebanon, and international institutions and forums, led by the United Nations Security Council as the driving force of international peace and security, lack the necessary efficiency to extinguish the fire of this crisis. On the other hand, the unwavering support of Western governments, led by the United States, for the Zionist regime has put the path to peace and an end to the war beyond reach. Therefore, BRICS and BRICS Plus should design and implement a transparent, fair, inclusive, non-discriminatory, and rules-based multilateral trade mechanism with a special focus on the Global South and development for the least developed countries. The legal sanctions have devastating effects on international relations, preventing countries from accessing their financial resources and negatively affecting countries' abilities to play an effective role in processes of international cooperation, such as combating the adverse effects of climate change, global warming, environmental degradation, and providing humanitarian aid. Many of the BRICS member countries or countries associated with them have dynamic and developing economies. This potential holds valuable opportunities that, if harnessed and focused on building deep economic and trade ties, can bring rich and widespread benefits. The use of national currencies for trade, new banking platforms, digital currencies, strengthening the new development bank, and the contingency reserve arrangement, and other measures will be able to build a better world for all. Distinguished guests, the geographical scope of BRICS is a unique opportunity to facilitate transcontinental communication and achieve collective common interests, a process that will have a significant impact on reducing the gap in the development process and increasing the well-being of the people. The future belongs to countries that play the greatest role in creating convergence and establishing a new order of institutionalized relations based on a discourse of harmony and justice.